that same Nitro, by the way, is the Target Center, and we have you and Vampiro wrestling. You're going to get the win to retain the U.S. title. We haven't spent any time talking about Vampiro. How was he to work with?
He was fine. I mean, he obviously his most success came in Lucha Libre and came in, in a Spanish speaking genre of professional wrestling. So his in ring, I mean, it's fine and everything, but it was, to me, it's one of those things. Did they ever give him, I'll say, a fair opportunity? Was the character defined? Was he kind of an offshoot of Sting, or he was, or what? It just, I mean,
We didn't establish him in WCW.
I mean, not at all.
He had a cool look, but he just showed up with a cool look, and it's like, hey, here he is. But there's no backstory.
None.
And we don't understand the character.
And then, I can hear Mike Tenay or whoever, but yes, he's a legend in Mexico. But they're not going to have time to say why is, so you felt like he was a big deal and kind of thought he was, and they kind of positioned him, but then it never really panned out. And, again, character development was non-existent in his case in WCW.
Respectfully, is that a Russo issue? Like, I say that because I feel like there's been times where Russo believed, and listen, I know some of this was done in character, but it's almost as if you weren't a big star on the WWF program, we're not maybe going to feature you too strongly here. And in times, Russo, in character, I'm sure, would do promos about, hey, you can go watch all the Lucha Libres you want. Like, he didn't necessarily respect the history because he didn't think, and I think he was right, by the way. I'm not being negative on Russo in this regard. I'm saying he knew that the majority of the folks watching this weren't familiar with AAA or CMLL or New Japan. So if they didn't watch it on this show or the other channel, it kind of doesn't compute. You got to start fresh. But I think you could leverage that stuff. And we've seen it happen in more modern times. Was Russo's attitude correct at the time? Do you think that, hey, most of them haven't seen it, but that doesn't mean we couldn't spend time and educate them, right? Or do you think that was a waste of time?
No, so I think, and I think you'll agree with me, I don't think it was a matter of respect on Russo's part. I think he respected Japanese talent, Mexican talent, whatever it may be. Did he think that they would get ratings and numbers? I can tell you, to my knowledge, absolutely not, and didn't believe that it was worth the investment to use that as a jumping off point in character development for Vampiro. And there's 1,000 different schools of thought, and going back to the territory days. And a lot of times I like to kind of use that as example. In the old days, oh God, I sound like the old timer, but that's how it was done. Here comes Billy Robinson. Why is he good? Well, we're going to tell you why he's good. He beat this guy here and beat this guy here, the traveling world champion, or, Andre the Giant's a touring guy, or whatever it is. You use the history because it's difficult. You can't create history overnight. So Vince, I don't believe, really ever bought into that's going to get me a number to go into other genres of wrestling. But that was his philosophy. So the culture of character development in WCW, we just touched on Vampiro. There's a lot of guys that were, I just go into that. That is such a lost art in so many ways.
Let me jump in here, though, too. Okay. I don't want everybody to think we're trying to pile on Vince, because the reality is the other Vince didn't do it either. I mean, let's just call it like it is. Like, he had plenty of opportunity to feature some of his lucha talent. Remember when the Nitro craze really popped off with all the success of the luchadors? Vince tried to do some of the same, sort of half-assed. Like, there was nobody got excited about a light heavyweight title match in the WWF. Nobody got excited when they ran the Royal Rumble in 97 and had all the lucha talent. There was here they are, and that's it. At least WCW allowed them the environment to flourish. And I just wondered, from your perspective, did Russo come over not selfishly saying I don't like it, so they won't like it. Was he sitting under Vince McMahon's learning tree long enough that, hey, they're not gonna? I mean, because let's go back into more recent years. I thought for sure Shinsuke was going to be a huge star, and man, they're going to put him and Lesnar on pay per view and blah blah blah. That never happened, and it almost feels as if, candidly, it's not going to happen as long as, I mean, that's just not Vince's style. That's not his approach. If you can't connect with a really strong promo and you don't come in with a lot of that hoopla, it's just, I don't know. I don't think it's a Russo thing. I think it's who Russo learned from. I think it's a Vince McMahon thing.
And I also think that you could just draw the it's not the style, but look, overall, it's, you know, I'm going to really state the obvious here. U.S. programming, United States program, which is the sole focus because everything else is bicycled out, it's English speaking. It's truly just that simple. You have to do a connect, pal, the money's in the face and the money's in the face and the emotions, but you also got to be able to talk. And so, Nitro, when the luchadors came on, they sold action. They didn't have storylines. They didn't have angles. They said, we're going to give you some hot action. And that, I believe, both Vince's and others, that mentality is, I'm going to invest my TV time in developing characters as opposed to a match. It's a philosophy that, am I going to give time to character development stories or give time to matches?